All right. Again, welcome, children of Israel, tonight's lesson. I understand that when we go into these lessons, when we do our classes for our brothers and sisters, we all know that when we go through the scriptures, we study to show ourselves approved in 2 Timothy chapter 2, verse 15, where we study and make sure that everything is in place where we need it to be, especially when it comes to edifying our people. So when we go through these scriptures, we want to make sure that we don't get into a point where we take these scriptures and we try to hold it against our people, like browbeating them against, the things that they do and how they conduct themselves, even though that we're in the truth and in the knowledge that we understand things. These are things that we need to keep in the back of our mind when we're dealing with our people and the other nations. So tonight's lesson is going to be on scriptures to keep us grounded. And that is scriptures to keep us grounded. All right? So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to go to Isaiah chapter 34, verse 16. This is Isaiah chapter 34, verse 16. And this is pertaining to where do we go to get these scriptures, and where do we go to find out the things that the Most High has us to do. So that's Isaiah chapter 34, verse 16.
This is the book of Isaiah, chapter 34, verse 16. Seek ye out of the book of the Most High, and read.
Right.
No one of these shall...
So that's exactly what we're supposed to do. We're supposed to seek these things out of the book and read. So if we have any issues or any problems or we may not understand something, we seek these things out of the book. And that's the book. What I'm talking about is our records. So we go into our records to get understanding. All right, go ahead, Ak.
No one of these shall fail. Mm-hmm. None shall want her mate. For my mouth it hath commanded.
Mm-hmm. Go ahead and finish out.
And his spirit it hath gathered them.
Right. So what the scripture is stating is that no one of these shall fail, none shall want her mate. So meaning that this book, our record, cannot go with any other records that we know of that the other nations might try to come with. And we know that they'll try to come with the Quran or the Book of Mormon or the Watchtower. All these books that they have, they try to bring it together into our record. Although they've taken the scriptures from our record and twisted it to their own fashion, but we know what's in these records. So that's why the Most High says that we come to our records and seek ye out of the book and read. And that's how we get our edification. So we're going to go to Joshua chapter 1, verse 8. And we're going to go ahead and get a little bit more understanding on where they were actually getting the book, or actually reading out of the book for their scriptures. So we're going to go to Joshua chapter 1, verse 8. That's Joshua chapter 1, verse 8.
This is the book of Joshua, chapter 1, verse 8. This book of the law shall not depart out of thy mouth, but thou meditate therein day and night. Okay,
go ahead.
That thou mayest observe to do according to all that is written therein. For then shalt thou make thy way prosperous, and then thou shalt have good success.
Right, exactly. So when we go into this book and we read from the scripture, we're reading from the law. And where do we find the law? We find the law in our records. And it should never depart from our mouth because we understand what's in our records. And we should meditate therein day and night, meaning that we should think about these things. And like I know a lot of you do think about all these things that are taking place in the earth, and that's good. We should be keeping that in our mind, because the children of Israel have a tendency to forget or get sidetracked in what they're doing. So we're to meditate and think about it. And I don't mean that type of meditating where you're sitting in a room and you got candles and you got your feet crossed over and you're yelling, humming and stuff like that, rubbing your fingers, trying to bring in a demon. We're not doing that. That's not what it's talking about. Now, most of these people, most of the other nations may think of that, but that's not what that's talking about. It means to think about. And once we do that, we observe how we do conduct ourselves on a day-to-day basis by going into these scriptures. And that it is written because it's a documentation of the things that took place from the days of old into the time, into the New Testament, and to where we're at right now. So once we accomplish this, we are able to prosper from the things that we understand and how we conduct ourselves. So if you know the laws and you understand how things are being conducted from the Most High, you can only but prosper from it. Nothing can come from it. Evil can come from it when you're doing the right thing. And thou shalt have good success. So again, we had good success when we were in obedience with the Most High. We had all the success. We had everything. We had the clothes, we had the jewelry, we had the riches, we had the land, we had our God, we have our God, but yet, again, we fell from that. So this is where the part where the Most High is getting us back into remembrance of these things that we understand if we go into the book and read. All right, so let's go to Luke chapter 4, verse 16. And this is Luke chapter 4, verse 16.
This is the book of Luke, chapter 4, verse 16. And he came to Nazareth, where he had been brought up. And as his custom was, he went into the synagogue on the Sabbath day and stood up for to read.
Right. So this is giving you an account of when Yashaya came into Nazareth, and he's going into the synagogue to read to the people. And so this is giving you a understanding of what is it that Yashaya is reading out of. All right. Next verse.
Verse 17. And there was delivered unto him the book of the prophet Isaiah. And when he had opened the book, he found the place where it was written.
Right. So
verse 18.
When he opened the book up, he got the book from the prophet Elijah and started to read from it. And where did he find it? He was looking into our records where it was written. All right. Verse 18.
Verse 18. The spirit of Ahayah is upon me, because he hath anointed me to preach the gospel to the poor. He hath sent me to heal the brokenhearted, to preach the deliverance to the captives, and recovering the sight of the blind, to set at liberty them that are bruised.
Right. So he's letting the people know that he's speaking of himself coming into the prophecy that he was coming to fulfill that prophecy by speaking to the people. Verse 19.
To preach the acceptable year of Ahayah.
Verse 20.
And he closed the book, and he gave it again to the minister, and sat down. And the eyes of them that were in the synagogue were fastened on him.
Right. So he was letting them know that, yes, I am the one who was sent here to help those that are in need, who are brokenhearted, the captives, to recovering of sight, to set them that are, free from, that are bruised, that are beaten. So he's letting the people know that, hey, I am the one that I have come to fulfill this prophecy. Read verse 21.
Verse 21. And he began to say unto them, this day is this scripture fulfilled in your ears.
Right. So he's letting them know that it's been fulfilled. So, but where did he get that from? He got that from the records in the Old Testament, from our records. That's where he got it from. So that's why the people were sitting there like, oh, he just read himself in it. And that's what he was doing. He was letting you know that I have come to help these people, and this prophecy has already been fulfilled. So we'll go to Isaiah chapter 8, verse 20. That's Isaiah chapter 8, verse 20.
This is the book of Isaiah, chapter 8, verse 20. To the law and to the testimony, if they speak not according to this word, it is because there is no light in them.
Right. Exactly. So when these pastors and these preachers are coming out here trying to persuade our people into falling into their traditions or their customs, we know that by these laws that we read from in our scriptures, to the law and to the testimony, which we know is the truth, and the commandments that we receive, if they speak not according to this word, is because there is no light in them. So they're not speaking according to the words of the Most High, and we know that. But we do have them come into our neighborhoods, and that's the Jehovah's Witnesses and the Mormons, because they come in and they know that our people, Hosea 4 and 6, are destroyed for a lack of knowledge. They don't read, so they don't understand, so they're easy to fall into a snare. But we know what they're doing and how they're conducting themselves, because we all have encountered at one point or time a Mormon or a Jehovah's Witness where they would try to speak these things, and once you speak these scriptures, you give them the scriptures and ask them questions, then they flee. Oh, look what time it is. I got to go. I got an appointment. The wicked flee when no man pursueth. But because we know these records and we know what we're reading, these are the scriptures that keep us grounded. All right, so let's go to 1 Corinthians chapter 8, verse 1. And that's 1 Corinthians chapter 8, verse 1.
This is the book of 1 Corinthians chapter 8, verse 1. Now, as touching things offered unto idols, we know that we all have knowledge. Right. Knowledge puffeth up.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so right there, that's explaining at this point in time. This is Paul sending out the letter to Corinthians. He's letting us know that, hey, now as touching things offered unto idols, we know that we all have knowledge. Of course, we all have knowledge. Everybody on this line has knowledge. They have all the knowledge and understanding what they need to do to conduct themselves in a day-to-day process when they're dealing with their own people, our own people, and the other nations. But what is the problem that we sort of get into when we get this knowledge? Knowledge puffeth up. This is the thing that we have that was done in the days of old. And also, fast forward to this time, we have the same thing. No new thing under the sun. When we get this knowledge and we get this understanding, we have a tendency, and we're so happy at the fact that we actually have something that we have this foundation and understanding, like the true knowledge of knowing where we're from and who we are, that we get so excited that we have a tendency to just, take it a step further and start to browbeat your brothers or sisters of the nations because of the fact that you have this knowledge. But it just puffs you up. And we've had incidents where we had individuals who felt that they'd had this knowledge and they felt, well, I don't think, this brother or this sister should be in this position, or I should say brother in this position, because he's not steady in this verse or that verse. The Most High is not looking at that. Only you are looking at that because you think that being in a deacon or an officer is a status that, okay, if I can get this, I can be in this status. That's not what that's about. Because when you look at it and you read further, when you're reading these scriptures, there's a heavy penalty to pay for the positions that we are in. And that means the elders, the deacons, and the officers. We all hold titles each one of us has a different office, but we all have the same common goal, and that's to get our people to Zion and to make, well, that would be the job of the Most High to do that. But at the same time, we have to keep our people focused and keep them on track. Again, we are sheep, so sometimes we have a tendency to stray out. So that's why we have to keep ourselves in order so we don't go outside of that. Because once we do, you know how Israel is. We start going off. We start doing things. We start saying things. And then you're making one thing worse than what it already is, or you're over-exaggerating, or it's the he said, she said, and it gets all muddled up. So when we get into this knowledge and the understanding of these scriptures, we have to keep ourselves grounded. We have to keep ourselves at a level that we don't put ourselves above one another, because we all are trying to get to that goal, and that's to make it into the kingdom. So if we put ourselves higher than our brothers or our sisters, you're not going to get in the kingdom that way. But read on, brother, that last portion in the first verse.
First Corinthians chapter 8, verse 1. Mm-hmm. Knowledge puffeth up, but charity edifieth.
Right. Charity edifieth. Because when you have charity, that means you understand where that person is going, that they need help. You're helping your brother and your sister. You're not browbeating them because you have all this knowledge. And read verse 2.
Verse 2. And if any man think that he knoweth anything, he knoweth nothing, yet as he ought to know.
Right. So if you think you know all this, you have all this understanding and knowledge, you really don't know anything. You don't. That you ought to know. Because the Most High is the one that gives you this knowledge that you have. Everybody that's on this line was given this knowledge from the Most High. We can't sit here and say, oh, yeah, I knew this and I knew that. No. The Most High is the one that gave you this knowledge and this understanding. That's why we're on this line. That's why we had Passover just a few weeks ago. Now we're going into first fruit. And these are the understandings that we have when we go through these things, that we are to not puff ourselves up. Because once we do that, you know, the Most High can lead you astray on thinking that you're puffed up, but you're just going to be a live fool. So you have to be careful how you handle this knowledge, because this knowledge can be a double-edged sword. It can help you, and it can also lead you in the lake of fire if you're not careful. All right, so let's go to 1 Corinthians chapter 13, verse 1. That's 1 Corinthians chapter 13, verse 1. A few pages over.
This is the book of 1 Corinthians chapter 13, verse 1. Though I speak with the tongues of men and of angels and have not charity, I am become as sounding brass or a tinkling cymbal.
Right. So this is Paul is explaining that, yes, I can speak all these different languages, and I can also speak in angels, but if I don't have the charity to be kind to my brother and sister, what did he say? I become a sounding brass or a tinkling cymbal, that I'm just making all this noise. So you have all this person who has when an individual has all this knowledge, and he has all this understanding, like these other nations, they think they have all this knowledge, they have the money, they have everything. They happen to come into a room where it's, you know, slightly quiet, but then they come in making all that noise. They don't have any knowledge. They're just sounding off, making noise. That's what Paul is letting us know, that even though you have these things, you're just making a bunch of noise, and you have no charity. Read on to verse 2. Next verse.
Verse 2. And though I have the gift of prophecy and understand all mysteries and all knowledge, and though I have all faith so that I can remove mountains and have not charity, I am nothing.
Exactly. So he has all these things, and he's able to move mountains. Are you kidding me? He's able to move mountains, and he's got all this knowledge and faith, but if he doesn't have charity, he has nothing. And these are the things, what I mean by charity, that's showing love to your brother and sister, showing understanding, compassion, patience to deal with your brothers and sisters. Now, there may be some that don't have all the knowledge that you may have, but they're trying to get there, so you have to give them time. But at the same time, you can't just browbeat them into thinking like, hey, you need to hurry up and get with it. And if they're trying to get through pages and stuff, and you're not moving fast enough, hurry up. And then they try to say something, Shema, I won't say anything, be quiet, next person. And it's just that within itself defeats the individual as far as learning and wanting to learn. Because when you do that, you are given the knowledge from the Most High to teach others. And when you teach them wrongly like that, the blood is on your hands. And I can give you a prime example. I myself, when I was going through the understanding of knowledge and trying to gain knowledge, I spoke to a brother who he looked like Judah, and he was Italian, but he looked black. And so I explained to him that, how Esau was going to be judged and how that they were going to be put into slavery, but they won't get beat or anything like that, but they will be taken out of the blotted out on the book of life. And I explained that to the brother, and then he said, well, what point is it? He said, well, if I have no salvation in that, he's like, then what point is it for me? How can I be saved? And I said, well, what do you mean? He said, well, my father's an Edomite. And I was like, what? He's like, yeah, my father's an Edomite. So you're saying I have no chance to make it? And then I was like, And I was like, well, I don't know. That's kind of what I'm reading here from Obadiah, and I showed it to him, and then I didn't hear from this individual for a year, and so, but it bothered me because I just found out that he was from another nation. He was from Edom, and that I just barely in the knowledge told him that he's going to be wiped out. You know how devastating that is to hear that, and then having that knowledge and explaining it to him. He was crushed by that. So by him hearing that, he just started going off, not keeping the Sabbath days, going off talking to women, whoremongering, doing with all the things that he's just doing to have himself a good time because he looked at it, well, I might as well live it up. But it bothered me because I just told someone that I was friends with that he's not going to make it. So he calls me one day, a year later, and I said I had to set this straight. So I said, look, brother, I apologize. I want to apologize to you for the things I said. I was coming up new, trying to understand things, and I misspoke and pretty much put my foot in my mouth about what I had said. You do have salvation. You can make it. You can make it to the other side, provided that you put away all your idols and everything. And he said, you know what, I appreciate you telling me that, and that, you setting the record straight. And I was like, yeah, brother, I have to be honest with you. I felt bad about that. It really, really grieved me. And so by me setting that record straight and being right with my brother, now the blood is no longer in my hand. It's on him now that I set the record straight. So these are the things that we need to be careful of when we're dealing with our brothers and sisters. All right, let's go to the next verse. Verse 3.
And though I bestow all my goods to feed the poor, and though I give my body to be burned, and have not charity, it profiteth me nothing.
Exactly. There goes that word again, charity. And so these are the things that you need to keep in mind, Israel. This is going to be drummed in you, charity. Even though you have all this knowledge, if you have everything and not charity, you're not going to make it into the kingdom. Don't think just because you have this knowledge and this understanding that you're going to get into the kingdom. No, that's not how that works. There's work to be done. And this is what Paul is letting us know, charity. Go ahead and read verse 4.
Verse 4. Charity suffereth long, and is kind. Charity envieth not. Charity vaunteth not itself, is not puffed up.
Right. So charity, when you're giving charity, it doesn't suffer because you're helping out that brother or sister. When you do something good for a brother or sister, you feel good. And that's how it should be, and that's how it was in the days of old. So there were no persons that were in our nation that were going unwanting of anything. So we always had each other's back. We had if they needed something, no problem. We took care of it. They said, and it's time. Charity envieth not. Charity doesn't envy what you have. When you have when you have something that somebody doesn't have, you don't hold that over them. You want to share it with them, because then that way that makes them feel good, and knowing that you were thinking about them and that you're willing to help them in a time of need. And I'm going to give you another example that I did, and I think the brothers can attest to that, to what I'm saying. And again, this is not to be boastful or anything. These are the experiences that I have that I'd like to share with you in order for us to understand that these things that we say and do have consequences. So we have to be careful. We had a brother, we were street preaching, and yet still I was coming up in the truth. This is with me, Officer Sheldon, Deacon Batak, Deacon Dave, Deacon Tony. We were all street preaching. I don't think Deacon Tony was there, but we were out street preaching, and Issachar came up. And, he was trying to get the word, and we were trying to talk to him, but he came up, he had no shoes. He was barefooted. And he explained to us what happened to him, and that, the cops, jammed him up. He had, they took this and that from him. So he was down out. And we were talking to him, and just before he was leaving, and one of the brothers had mentioned, say, hey, he has no shoes. Can we get him some shoes? And I was like, you know what? I kicked my shoes off. I had a pair of Nike shoes on, brand new. And I said, you know what, brother, here, you can take my shoes. So I gave him my shoes. And he's like, really? And I was like, yeah, I've got plenty of shoes, brother. You can take them. And so I gave him my shoes, and I gave him that not because it was just to feel, like, yeah, I'm the man, yeah. No, I wanted that because he had nothing. So I gave it to him. And the brother was happy. We gave him a Bible, and we told him that he was the children of Israel, and that he came from Issachar. And, we did our duty in letting him know the blood is not on our hands. But I gave him charity, and I walked down the street barefooted, back in my car, and I felt good. And that's one of the things that, that we must keep in mind, that charity. And then on top of that, let's read further. It says, charity is unvaunted, not itself. It is not puffed up. Again, charity, me giving him shoes, me giving my shoes to him is not puffing me up. I'm helping my brother out because he has nothing. Now, we know that sometimes we deal with people who have, that are hustling on the streets, and there's that time you're not too sure whether you should give them something or not. But, the decision will be left to you. And if you want to give them the word, give them the word. I mean, no one's saying that you have to do that, but, use wisdom. So let's read on down to the next verse.
Verse 5. Doth not behave itself unseemly, seeketh not her own, is not easily provoked, and thinketh no evil.
Mm-hmm. Next verse.
Rejoiceth not in iniquity, but rejoiceth in the truth.
Right, and exactly that's what this is. When you're not doing something that's not dealing with charity, and you're only thinking into your own conceits and like, yeah, I got this knowledge, I got this understanding, let's see who else I can, tear up on the street because they don't know what I know. That's creating sin. And, when you have this truth, the truth will prevail. But it depends on how you use this truth, how you use this knowledge. If you use this knowledge for deceptive means or to, be shady, it's not going to profit you anything if you do that. Besides, the Most High can take it from you at any time. So we have to keep that in the back of our minds, too. The Most High can give it to you, and he can also take it from you. Next verse.
Verse 7. Beareth all things, believeth all things, hopeth all things, endureth all things.
Exactly. So when we come into this truth, we have to bear everything. We have to bear the fact that our family members are not in the truth. We have to deal with those that we talk to and about this truth, but yet they kind of look at you with the deer in the headlight look, and you're kind of like, I don't think this brother or sister is really getting it, but I'm doing it anyway. So when we do that, we believe it's all faith. We know that the Most High is on His way here, and that we have a duty to make sure that we get this information out to our brothers and sisters the best way we can before they shut everything down. And we hope for all things. We hope that we are able to get our brothers and sisters together as much as we can before the tribulation gets more and more. And so when we do that, indeed we endure all things. So all the things that we're dealing with, we're enduring it. And it's a steady race. It doesn't go to the swift. So we have to pace ourselves. We have to keep ourselves going. We have to keep ourselves uplifted, staying in this word, staying with the Most High, and making sure that we don't get ourselves over to a point where we are above our brothers or sisters, because we all started at the bottom, and now we're all starting to rise together. That's the goal, is to rise together. All right? Next verse.
Verse 8. Charity never faileth, but whether there be prophecies, they shall fail. Whether there be tongues, they shall cease. Whether there be knowledge, it shall vanish away.
Exactly. So charity never faileth. So when you have charity, it never fails. It never falls. So, if you have charity, it wipes away a multitude of sins. So the things that you've done in the past, you helping somebody out, the Most High wipes that slate clean. But when you start using that knowledge to your advantage and doing the things outside of that, it becomes a problem. But whether there be prophecy, and you know how people are when they talk about these prophecies. Oh, the earth is going to end in May 1985, and that didn't happen. And these people keep putting out these predictions, these false prophecies. Never happened. They shall fail whether there be tongues. They shall cease. So people out there talking, and these pastors out there putting out these false claims and, doing the prosperity movement, leading the people astray, it's going to cease, and it's coming. And where there be knowledge, it shall vanish away. So having this knowledge that these individuals think they have, as far as like education-wise, these degrees, PhDs, and all the MDs, and you think when you hear these things, when these people are actually educated, but yet look at the state of the world and how everything is failing. But we know from these records that this is prophesied, and we know that the Most High is letting us know that wisdom of this world is foolishness to Him. So it doesn't matter to Him. All right, so let's go to the next verse.
Verse 9. For we know in part, and we prophesy in part.
Right, so we know in part, and we prophesy in part. So let's get an understanding of that. Let's go to Job chapter 11, verse 7. That's Job chapter 11, verse 7. Let's give a couple examples of that.
This is the book of Job, chapter 11, verse 7. Canst thou by searching find out Ahayah? Canst thou find out the Almighty unto perfection?
Mm-hmm. Yep, exactly. So how are you able to find out what the Most High is doing? Can you search it out? Can you even have an understanding what the Most High is trying to accomplish? Does any man or woman on this line understand what the Most High is trying to do? Because the knowledge that we have is just a minute grain of the things that the Most High is trying to accomplish. We can yet fathom what the Most High is trying to do. But yet, we try to figure these things out, but that's not our place to do that. Our place is to give the knowledge that we have is the Most High has given us this, so we need to use this to gather the people. So these are the things that we need to keep in mind. Next verse.
Verse 8. It is as high as heaven What canst thou do? Deeper than hell. What canst thou know?
Right. And all these things that people claim to know, it is not as high as heaven. I mean, because it's infinite. Because right now, that's why they have the telescope, what is it, the Hubble telescope out there. They're trying to count all the stars. They're trying to look and search out and count how many stars are out there, because the Most High is letting us know that if you can count the stars in the sky and the oceans, if you can figure out the depth of the ocean, then I'll cast my people away. But he knows that's not going to happen because they can't. Space is so infinite. It's just trying to figure out what the Most High is doing is impossible. You'd be spinning your wheels trying to do it. And even when it comes to hell too, I'm not trying to go there. I don't think anybody on this line is trying to go there. But these individuals are trying to test the Most High by doing these things. And next verse up.
Verse 9. The measure thereof is longer than the earth, and broader than the sea.
Right. So trying to understand this stuff is, again, it's broader than the sea and broader than the earth. So, again, we only have this small, minute grain of what the Most High is trying to accomplish. And so that's dealing with the knowledge portion of it, because once we get this, I mean, we blow up big. Some of our people get that heavy head of knowledge, and they start banging it around on people. And then they start getting that spiritual chip on their shoulder, thinking that they're able to be more knowledgeable than the next guy. It's not going to happen, because the Most High will leave you debased. I mean, he will take you into a straitjacket, leave you debased like you'd be drooling on yourself. So you have to be careful. Let's get another example. Let's go to Job 26 and 14. That's Job 26 and 14.
This is the book of Job, chapter 26, verse 14. Lo, these are parts of his ways, but how little a portion is heard of him. But the thunder of his power, who can understand?
Exactly. Well, there's parts of his ways, and these are the things that the Most High is doing. We don't understand his ways. We just know what's in the scriptures that are telling us what we need to do and how we are to conduct ourselves with these laws, statutes, and commandments. These are the basics for our people. And as we progress, the Most High gives us knowledge as we progress. So that no one man can say he can be above the other. That's how we keep the decency and order, and how we treat one another. But to no avail, the children of Israel have a tendency to push each other's buttons, trying to ask a question that they already know the answer to, but yet they want to see how the brother answers. And that is something that you need to check yourself on, because when you do that, think about what the Most High will do to you, because he sees that. So don't ever think that because you got knowledge that you can try to put one over on your own brother, because when the judgment comes, what do you think the Most High is going to judge you on? He could do the same thing to you. Hey, you didn't know this scripture, so you know what? You're going in the lake of fire. So you have to be careful with that, with this knowledge. And it's happened before. So, but the thunder of his power, who can understand? Exactly. The Most High is an omnipotent being who can do anything. You know, all the things that he's accomplished on this earth. It's amazing, of the stuff that he's accomplished, and then some. So let's get another example. Let's go to Psalms 40 and 5. That's Psalms 40 and 5.
This is the book of Psalms, chapter 40, verse 5. Many, O Most High, my power, are thy wonderful works which thou hast done, and thy thoughts which are to us word, they cannot be reckoned upon Slakia. They cannot be reckoned up in order unto thee. If I would declare and speak of them, there are more than can be numbered.
Right. Exactly. So all the things that the Most High has accomplished, they can't be numbered. And the work that the Most High has done, his wonderful works that he has, it can fill up the entire planet. And even then some, beyond that. Because, again, we're only dealing with these books that we have, that the Most High has given us. So these scriptures, when we go into these are the things that keep us grounded so that we don't get ourselves puffed up with knowledge. So the Most High is telling us that we just need to focus in on the basic things that are in these scrolls, in these history books that we have. And that how when we conduct each other or conduct understanding and doing lessons, that we are here to help. We're not here to belittle anyone, to degrade anyone, to browbeat them. We're here to help. That's our job. That's what the Most High wants. So that's how he sets up different individuals in different offices. Everybody contributes everything to the body. That's how the body keeps moving. You got to keep it exercising. You got to keep it moving. You got to keep that per se blood pumping. So trying to understand the Most High's ways is beyond your reckoning. So if you leave that to the Most High and not trying to, I understand what the Most High is doing, and I kind of get it. There are times where you'll read in the scriptures and then you'll go through something, then you'll be like, oh man, now I kind of understand what Moses was going through when he was dealing with all the people in the wilderness. They were complaining, they were upset, they were ready to kill me. And when you get the truth, now you've got, it's kind of like the same thing, but now you kind of understand, like, oh, okay. But you don't go out there and go, yeah, I understand what the Most High is saying and doing. Yeah, I got this. Because the Most High will take a brick to your head and leave you in a chair looking crazy and cross-eyed. So we'll get one more example. Let's go skip down to John chapter, Matthew chapter 11, verse 27. And that's Matthew chapter 11, verse 27.
This is the book of Matthew, chapter 11, verse 27. All things are delivered unto me of my Father, and no man knoweth the Son but the Father, neither knoweth any man the Father save the Son, and he to whomsoever the Son will reveal him.
Right. So we read from this, is pretty much self-explanatory, right? That the Father, or I should say the Son, knows what the Father is doing, and the Father knows what the Son is doing. So nowhere in there it says, no man knoweth what the Son but the Father. So we, as men, don't need to know what they're doing. We only need to just focus on what's in front of our eyes, which is in front of us, which is the Scriptures, our history book, our understanding of the things that are coming. And these are the things that the Most High wants us to focus on, but yet understanding what He's trying to accomplish for the nation of Israel as a whole. So once we do that, we can say, okay, thank you for reminding us of that, Most High, and all praise and glory unto you for that. And then we move on to the next phase. So leave it to the Most High to deal with His Son, and the Son dealing with the Most High. Because when we have these two working together along with the Rawach, or I should say these three working all together for our behalf, we don't need to worry about anything other than understanding how we treat one another and how we go into these scriptures to keep us grounded. So we don't fly off somewhere because we got a swole head. So these are the things, again, to remind the children of Israel, like, hey, keep yourselves grounded with this knowledge. Don't go outside of that. focus on what you need to do and helping each other in the scriptures and making sure that everyone is edified and the understanding of what they're trying to accomplish. Because all of us want to get to the kingdom. All of us want to make it to the kingdom. But in doing so, we need to exercise knowledge, is not to puff us up, but also to exercise charity when we're dealing with our brothers and sisters. All right? So let's go to John. I'll give one more here. Go to John chapter 21, verse 25. That's St. John chapter 21, verse 25.
This is the book of John, chapter 21, verse 25. And there are also many other things which Yashaya did, the which, if they should be written every one, I suppose that even the world itself could not contain the books that should be written. Amen.
Right. Exactly. So this is giving you a little bit more understanding as well that the things that Yashaya has accomplished, they wouldn't be able to fill up the world. So, again, we only have this little grain of knowledge that the Most High has allowed us to have, where everything that the Most High, Yashaya, that they are accomplishing in the Rawach, it's infinite. So we should just concentrate on these scriptures to keep us grounded and not worrying about what Yashaya and the Most High are doing, but know and understand He is working on all our behalf. And in doing so, again, we are helping each other out as a whole, as a body, to make sure that we get to the kingdom together, and that we get our nation and our people on track. So when that time comes, when Yashaya comes, he can say, well done, my servant. Or he can say, that wicked servant. And so now you have to decide on which side you want to be on. But I agree that everybody on this line wants to get to the kingdom by doing it the right way, by showing charity to your brother and sister, not letting knowledge puff you up, because knowledge can corrupt you too if you're not careful. But at the same time, knowledge can make an individual overjoyed at the fact that they know who they are and where they come from. So what we need to do is just basically let Yashaya and the Most High and Rawach do what they need to do. Okay? So let's go back to 1 Corinthians chapter 13, verse 10. That's 1 Corinthians chapter 13, verse 10.
This is the book of 1 Corinthians chapter 13, verse 10. But when that which is perfect is come, then that which is in part shall be done away.
Read.
When I was a child, I spake as a child. I understood as a child. I thought as a child. But when I became a man, I put away childish things.
Right. So when we become men and the understanding of the things that we are dealing with, we put away all the foolishness, all the childish stuff. There's no time for any games anymore. Now it's time to get straight and come with this knowledge and understanding. There's no time for all this spiritual chips on your shoulder. There's no time for arguing and bickering about certain things that are minute that you can solve. There's no time to push buttons with your brothers and sisters and trying to get them agitated with what you know and what they don't know. There's no time for sitting and relaxing and thinking that everything is gravy just by what you know and the knowledge and not giving charity. There's no time for that. Those are foolish things. Those are childish things. We are adults. We must conduct ourselves as an adult. We are men. We are women. We are the children of Israel. We are to be the light unto the Gentiles in understanding what our purpose is, and that our goal is to make it into the kingdom, but at the same time to get others, not only the children of Israel, but the children are also the other nations as well, so that they too can partake. There's no time for that. All right, next verse.
verse 11, verse 12. For now we see through a glass darkly, but then face to face. Now I know in part, but then shall I know, even as also I am known.
Read.
And now abideth faith, hope, charity, these three, but greatest of these is charity.
Right. So out of those three, the greatest is charity. So again, that's reminding you that even though, again, we have these things, we need to exercise charity amongst our brothers and sisters and the other nations. We need to be patient, again, with the other nations. We need to give them time, but yet time is speeding up on the things that are taking place in the earth. But yet, still, we need to exercise charity nonetheless. Because, again, if we exercise charity, that wipes away a multitude of sins. But don't go into the point where you're going out to just do charity just so you can use that as a means to keep doing what you're doing, and then wipe the slate clean. Because every man and woman will have to be judged for the things that they do. So that's another thing to keep us grounded as well. All right. So let's go to 1 Timothy chapter 1, verse 5. That's 1 Timothy chapter 1, verse 5.
This is the book of 1 Timothy, chapter 1, verse 5. Now the end of the commandment is charity, out of a pure heart, and of a good conscience, and of faith unfeigned.
Right. Again, we're dealing with charity, and that's to have a good heart. And that is also the end of the commandment. So I'll have you read chapter 1, verse 1, if you can read that for me.
It's 1 Timothy chapter 1, verse 1. Paul, an apostle of Yashaya, by the commandment of our power and Savior, and Yashaya, which is our hope.
Right. So this is the commandment that who we're receiving this from is from the Most High, Yashaya. So he's letting us know when we go back down to verse 5. It says the end of the commandment is charity, and that's the thing that I cannot stress enough is the commandment for charity. We understand all the commandments that we have to do, and also the holy days that we keep. But the main thing that the Most High looks at is charity, love for your brothers and sisters, understanding, patience with your brothers and sisters. We know that it's difficult to deal with one another sometimes, and we will get on each other's nerves. But how you handle that and how you handle each other when you're dealing with certain issues you may have speaks volumes. And at the same time, the Most High is looking at how you handle it. So your actions speak louder than words. And we've heard that expression before, and it does hold true. So your actions speak louder than words. So next verse, verse 6.
Verse 6. For which some having swerved have turned aside unto vain jangling.
Yeah.
Desiring to be teachers of the law, understanding neither what they say, nor whereof they affirm.
Right. So they don't basically understand. They want to be teachers, but they don't understand what it is that they're teaching. They're not following the law. They can't affirm, meaning like they can't the word I'm looking for. They can't back up what they're saying. So they're just speaking, saying that they're a teacher, but yet they have nothing to back up what they're saying. So they're just making all that noise. As Paul was sending out that letter in the Corinthians, they're just making all that noise. So these are the things that we have to be careful of. Next verse.
Verse 8. We know that the law is good if a man use it lawfully.
Right. So we know that the law is good if a man uses it lawfully. So that is a means of understanding that how we conduct ourselves within the scriptures that keeps us grounded. We can prosper in the things that we do, and getting and accomplishing a task that needs to be taken care of, without any bickering, without any, moaning and groaning. I don't want to do this. If there's something that needs to be done, it gets done. Like the Passover, for instance. You have the elder. He's working to get everything organized. Brothers and sisters are stepping up to do the job, and there might be some, things that may pop up where you ask a brother or sister for something, and they kind of like, I don't know if I want to deal with that. The thing we're trying to accomplish is to get this stuff done, and which we did get done by the grace of the Most High, and allowing the elder to get everything that was needed. So, with doing that, we have to be careful of how we interact with each other when we're dealing with these scriptures. And I'm going to keep drilling it in the children of Israel's head that charity, patience, understanding when we're dealing with one another. All right, next verse.
Verse 9.
Verse 9.
Knowing this, that the law is not made for a righteous man, but for the lawless and disobedient, for the ungodly and for sinners, for unholy and profane, for murderers of fathers and murderers of mothers, for manslayers.
Right. So basically, this is letting us know that it's confusing when they say that the law is not made for a righteous man. What it's saying is that even though we know the laws, we understand them, and that's why we follow them, because it was given to the children of Israel. Now, because we understand that by going through these scriptures to keep us grounded and keep us on track, this was a guideline for those who were outside of that law, meaning the other nations. So this is why we're reading where it states that this is the law. The law is not made for a righteous man, but for the lawless and disobedient, for the ungodly and for the sinner, for the unholy and profane, for murderers of fathers and murderers of mothers, for manslayers. So these are the things that were guidelines set for the other nations, because they didn't have this law like we had it that was given to us. So these were parameters and guidelines for us to follow, but yet the other nations couldn't do that. So they just running amok doing whatever they want. We going to the next verse, Doc?
Verse 10. For whoremongers, for them that defile themselves with mankind, for men stealers, for liars, for perjured persons, and if there be any other thing that is contrary to sound doctrine.
Right. So this is further stating on the things and the guidelines like the chat, that if these other nations are going out of or stepping outside of, like for whoremongering, and that's where men sleeping with all different types of women, for them that defile themselves with mankind, that's dealing with their homosexuality that they're pushing in this land. And it says for men stealers. Men stealers meaning that's how they stole the children of Israel from Africa and brought them over here to this land. And for liars and perverted persons. And then it goes on to say, okay, if there's anything else that I forgot, it says if there be any other thing that is contrary to sound doctrine. So the Most High is saying, if I forget anything, I'm putting it out there that if there's anything else that I've forgotten, anything that's not sound doctrine, is not within this law. It's outside of that. So that's kind of letting you know that the things that the Most High has given us the knowledge and the understanding and the laws that how we conduct ourselves with one another. So this is very important, because if we didn't have it, we'd be just like the other nations. We would be suffering. And we would want somebody to come to us and tell us we were doing wrong, but because there's so much wickedness going on this earth, people are just thinking that it's a normal thing. It's second nature. Oh, yeah, I got grace, well, we're not under the law, so we don't have to worry about it. But, of course, we know the law. And you got grace, but it ain't going to last for long if you keep messing up. So these are the things that we keep in mind. All right, let's go to Matthew chapter 3, verse 1. That's Matthew chapter 3, verse 1.
This is the book of Matthew, chapter 3, verse 1. In those days came John the Baptist, preaching in the wilderness of Judea.
Right. So John the Baptist is preaching in the wilderness. Go ahead, Don.
Verse 2. And saying, repent ye, for the kingdom of heaven is at hand.
Mm-hmm. That's what he's telling the children of Israel. Go ahead, read.
For this is he that was spoken of by the prophet Isaiah, saying, the voice of one crying in the wilderness, prepare ye the way of the Lord, make his path straight.
Right. So he's letting you know that Yashaya is on his way here, that he's coming. So prepare yourselves. And he's talking to the children of Israel, but also the Pharisees, who are also Israelites, and letting them know that they need to repent and come back because the kingdom of heaven is at hand. So get ready for the fact that Yashaya is coming to pave the way, to get things straight. So next verse.
Verse 4. And the same John had his raiment of camel's hair and of leathern girdle, and a leathern girdle about his loins, and his meat was locust and wild honey.
Mm-hmm. Read.
Then went out to him Jerusalem and all of Judea and all the region about Jordan.
Mm-hmm. Read.
And were baptized of him in Jordan, confessing their sins.
Right. So John the Baptist was baptizing people, letting them know, hey, if you sin, you come here and get baptized. To get rid of your sin. Next verse.
Verse 9.
Verse 7.
Verse 7. But when he saw many of the Pharisees and Sadducees come to his baptism, he said unto them, O generation of vipers, who have warned you to flee from the wrath to come?
Right. So these Pharisees were coming and saying, hey, who told you this? And John the Baptist is saying, hey, you generation of vipers, who warned you that you guys were, that was coming? Because at the time that the Pharisees were at a point where they had all this knowledge. They were the ones or they assumed they had all this knowledge and understanding, but yet they wouldn't share it with their brothers and sisters. So that knowledge puffed them up and thinking that they were somebody because they're the Pharisees. Now, mind you, we're dealing with the children of Israel. And that brings me to the next part of, what I'm talking about. It's like, even though you're an Israelite, doesn't guarantee you a spot in the kingdom. Because even if you have this knowledge, you have to be careful of what you say and do and how you conduct yourself. And I know that we all go through we've been baptized, but yet we still go through the struggles, and it's difficult. That's why we have the conference lines for the whole week, so you stay fed. So you stay interactive with one another. It's to keep you together so that the flock doesn't wander off somewhere. All right, let's go next lesson or next verse.
Verse 8. Bring forth therefore fruits meet for repentance.
Mm-hmm.
And think not to say within yourselves, we have Abraham to our father. For I say unto you,
okay, yeah.
For I say unto you that Ahayah is able to, of these stones, raise up children unto Abraham.
Right. So he's letting the Pharisees know, like, hey, don't think yourselves to be that you were born of Abraham, that you're guaranteed anything, because the Most High can just take these stones that you walk on and raise them up as children. He can do that. He could turn a stone into an individual, into a person. That's what he did to us. He breathed that dust, formed us from the dust and made us into man and breathed life into our nostrils. It's the same way he can do with another people. Pretty simple for him to do that. So we have to make sure that we don't get it into our minds that, yeah, I'm an Israelite, and yeah, it's going to be a crime and shame what happens in these nations, but, I'm not going to be dealing with that. You're wrong. That's why we have to endure to the end. So we can't just sit back and just think that everything is all good and ride on the coattails. That ain't going to happen. You have to keep yourselves grounded in these scriptures and keep yourself, seek ye out of the book and read. Study. Give charity to your brother. Help them. If your brother or sister is lacking in one area, help them out. But don't think yourself to be the fact that you're from the seed of Abraham that you got it made, because you don't. All right, next verse.
Verse 10. And now also the axe is laid unto the root of the trees. Therefore, every tree which bringeth not forth good fruit is hewn down and cast into the fire.
Right. So anytime that you're dealing with the tree, you're dealing with the base of the tree. The stronger the foundation that's bearing good fruit will have success. But if the tree has a weak foundation and bears bad fruit, you're just going to have to cut it down and throw it into the fire and burn it. So that's exactly what John the Baptist was explaining to the Pharisees, not to think themselves to be so great, because you have all this knowledge and understanding that you're leaning on your own understanding and your own foundation of what it is that you understand, what you think you understand about the Most High and how He works. Because when you're bearing bad fruit like that, you're just going to get chopped down and cast in the fire. That's all you're doing. You're just setting yourself up. All right. Let's go down to 2 Corinthians chapter 13, verse 5. That's 2 Corinthians chapter 13, verse 5. Now, these are the things that we need to think of when we want to get ourselves into the kingdom. And this is how we get ourselves into the kingdom, by doing this. And that's
the book of 2 Corinthians.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
This is the book of 2 Corinthians, chapter 13, verse 5. Examine yourselves, whether ye be in the faith. Prove your own selves. Know ye not your own selves, how that Yashaya is in you, except ye be reprobates?
Right. So we have to examine ourselves when we approach to this knowledge, and then when we get new knowledge, because there's always something new that we come up with that we understand, that the Most High has given us more knowledge. Because even though we've gone through these scriptures and these scrolls and the history, man, it is always a joy to find something new. Am I right? Because I know a lot of you can have a testimony on that. When you think you know something, and then the Most High shows you something new. Man, it's such a good feeling. You're like, wow, I didn't even know that. Oh man, all praise and glory to the Most High for that. And that's what keeps us going. That when we find out something new, it's always good. It's letting us know that we're humbling ourselves, we're helping out our brothers and sisters, we're exercising charity, we're not trying to put ourselves above one another, we're assisting each other to get to the goal of getting into the kingdom. So we have to examine ourselves on how we deal with one another. And also know ye not your own selves. So meaning like, yeah, you have the knowledge and you understand what you know. Don't lean on to your own understanding on things, because you'll lead yourself astray. And that you almost have to keep reminding yourself, like, thank you, Most High, for this knowledge and understanding. And I appreciate the things that you've given me in understanding this. And I pray that you don't take it from me. And I pray that I stay humble and stay under your light and not using it for something else, for means of covetous gain or holding it over someone. Keep me straight, keep me true on the task that I need to follow. All right? Let's go to James chapter 1, verse 22. That's James chapter 1, verse 22.
This is the book of James, chapter 1, verse 22. But be ye doers of the word, and not hearers only, deceiving your own selves.
Exactly, that's right. So we have to be doers of the word and not hearers of the word. Because if we just hear and we just sit back, then nothing's going to get done. So we have to do and act and practice what we preach, in a sense. Pretty much that's what it is. We do what we say that the Most High is telling us to do. Be doers of the word. And that's how we know and show to the other nations that hey, these people are doing what, I've never seen this before, but they're actually doing something I've never seen before. And I'm sure that a lot of you who work in certain areas and the professions that you all do, that you put this truth out to an individual, put the knowledge out to them, and yet they kind of give you that scornful look, and then they're just like, he or she is talking about this or that, or the end of the world. I don't know what they're talking about. But yet they say that. But yet at a distance, they watch you. They watch what you say. They watch what you do, how you conduct yourself. They are watching. And their ears are starting to perk up. Such and such, have you heard anything? No, you just conduct yourself normal. So when you conduct yourself in a manner that is pertaining to the scriptures and the laws, you yourself are walking rightly with the Most High by keeping the laws, statutes, and commandments, the Sabbath day, charity, helping your brothers and sisters out. You'll be successful. The Most High will take care of you, as He's always done. He'll take care of us. And then sometimes He'll take care of us with that spiritual belt and let us know what time it is, just to get us in check. So these are the things we need to keep in the back of our head. Let's go to 2 Peter chapter 1, verse 1. That's 2 Peter chapter 1, verse 1.
The book of 2 Peter, chapter 1, verse 1. Simon Peter, a servant and an apostle of Yashaya, to them that have obtained like precious faith with us through the righteousness of Ahayah and our Savior, Yashaya.
Right. Read.
Grace and peace be multiplied unto you through the knowledge of Ahayah and of Yashaya, our Savior.
Right. So all the knowledge that we receive, we are being able to give grace for that. So the Most High is giving this to us. He's letting us know that He's waking His children up into the knowledge and the truth of who we are. But again, we got to be careful how we handle it. And what a joy it is to get this knowledge, because again, you see what's going on out there. All these people on this line right now, these are the people who are locked in, linked in, and listening. Or ears are all perked up, attentive to all the words that are being said. These are the people that the Most High is looking for, acceptable men and women, to get us to the kingdom that is to come, that we all be acceptable to the Most High, even through the things that we go through. The Most High is always with us. He's always letting us know what it is that we need to accomplish. Go ahead, verse 3.
Verse 3. According as His divine power hath given unto us all things that pertain unto life and godliness, through the knowledge of Him that hath called us to the glory and virtue.
Right. It is through the Most High that gives us what we have, that allows us to wake up each day, to put the word out to our brothers and sisters and the other nations. This is all the Most High. Next verse.
Verse 4. Whereby are given unto us exceeding great and precious promises, that by these ye might be partakers of the divine nature, having escaped the corruption that is in the world through lust.
Right. So through all these things, it's a privilege to have this knowledge from the Most High. Again, you puff yourself up against any of your brothers and sisters, just like that, the Most High can take it from you. So these are the things you have to be careful of. Okay? Next verse.
Verse 5. And besides this, giving all diligence, add to your faith virtue, and to virtue knowledge.
Right. Read.
And to knowledge temperance, and to temperance patience, and to patience godliness.
Right. And again, these are the things that we need to have when we have this knowledge, is we need to exercise temperance. And I know that the children of Israel are known for short tempers. We get fired up when something doesn't go right, or somebody says something crazy, and you have to get that double take, like, say, what? We need to exercise temperance when we're dealing with ourselves and the other nations, because they're looking at us, and at the same time, we are a light unto them. And we also need to exercise patience, and to patience, godliness, because through these things, when we exercise these things, they see that, and then they feel, hey, I was acting this way to this individual, but he or she handled it in a way that I completely just cussed this individual out and told him him or her that they can go wherever, and I just really let them have it. But yet they were nice to me, and they walked off. And most people would probably slap me or punch me in the mouth because of what I said, but yet they were patient with me. And how do I feel so low because of the fact that I've done this to my brother or sister, or said this to this individual. So, next verse.
Verse 7. And to godliness brotherly kindness, and to brotherly kindness charity. Right.
There's that word again, charity. And again, this is something to keep in remembrance of this, children of Israel, is that we need to exercise charity to our brothers and sisters. Because again, we know that a lot of this, predominantly the money is gonna fail. But when all this is all said and done, we'll have each other in the end. And how we treat each other in the end will speak louder than any materialistic things that these nations covet. Because we understand what the Most High is trying to accomplish for our people. So by us dealing with one another in a respectable way, and then with the knowledge that we receive, we can move towards what we need to accomplish while the Most High is doing what he needs to do with him and the Father, are making a place for the children of Israel. So we need to exercise kindness and charity, and godliness and brotherly love. And verse 8.
Verse 8. If these things be in you and abound, they make you that ye shall neither be barren nor unfruitful in the knowledge of our Savior, Yashaya.
All right. That's exactly right. So when we have this knowledge, we can't fail, because we know that the Most High is the one that's given us everything that we need, and that the things that he's got our back. He's taking care of us. We may not feel that way at certain times, but just know that the Most High has got everything covered. Because who can count with things that the Most High does? No one can. Remember, we only get like a small little grain of knowledge. That's a little bit. A little tiny grain. But the Most High is infinite in what he needs to do, so we shouldn't even worry about anything. We just have to get off of that fact of fearing that the Most High won't, it may seem as not there, but we know he's there. We do. These other nations don't, which they're about to soon find out. But these are the things that the Most High has got for us. Verse 9.
Verse 9. But he that lacketh these things is blind, cannot see afar off, and have forgotten that he was purged from his old sins.
Right, and that's talking about the fact that once you have this knowledge, the Most High can take it away. And I think that we all fear that, because the Most High can put us back to sleep again. You know, because if we keep dabbling in our sin, the Most High will just let you go. He'll just let you fall right back into the ways. But a lot of us, I know all of us on this line, don't want to go back to that. Although that we struggle and fall, righteous man falls 7 times and gets right back up. And that's the thing, the Most High doesn't want you to give up. Satan wants you to give up. Satan wants you to, all right, come on back. We missed you. But the Most High doesn't want you to give up. That's why this we have to endure to the end. So we need to keep that in mind, that the Most High can take away. He can give it, and he also can take away, because he's a respecter of no person. Remember that. That's Israelite or Gentile. So we have to keep that in our mind when we conduct with one another, when we're talking about certain things, issues, scriptures. We have to be careful. All right? Last verse, or verse 10.
Verse 10. Wherefore, the rather, brethren, give diligence to make your calling and election sure. For if ye do these things, ye shall never fall.
Right. And read that again,
This is the book of 2 Peter, chapter 1, verse 10. Wherefore, the rather, brethren, give diligence to make your calling and election sure. For if you do these things, ye shall never fall.
Right. So we were all elected, and to make it sure that we have this duty to get this knowledge out. And because that the Most High gave us this knowledge, we can never fall, because we see what's going on. You can't pull nothing on us now. The Most High has told us who we are and where we come from. But remember, don't let that fuck your head up. Just know that the Most High allows you to have this knowledge so that you will be able to give it to other people. So if you have this knowledge, you must be careful how you use it. And use it with wisdom. And use it with diligence. Because when you do these things, the Most High is looking on you with favor in all things you do. Now, I wanted to read something to you, and we'll close this out. And I want to read this to you, and this is out of the Annotated Apocrypha, and I'll read this. This is in Baruch, chapter 3, chapter 4, verse 5. And I want to read this to the children of Israel. And this is encouragement for the children of Israel. And it reads, encouragement for Israel. Take courage, my people, who perpetrated Israel's name. It was not for your destruction that you were sold to the nations, but you were handed over to your enemies, because you were angered thy power. For you provoked the one who made you by sacrificing to demons and not to thy power. You forgot the everlasting power who brought you up, and who grieved Jerusalem, who reared you. For he saw the wrath that came upon you from thy power. And she said, and now this is saying that this is the land of Jerusalem is speaking to the children of Israel. This is the land. This is our homeland that's speaking to us. And she says, listen, you neighbors of Zion, thy power has brought great sorrow upon me, for I have seen the exile of my sons and daughters, which the everlasting brought upon them. With joy I nurtured them, but I sent them away with weeping and sorrow. Let no one rejoice over me, a widow and bereaved of many. I was left desolate because of the sins of my children, because they were turned away from the law of thy power. They had no regard for his statutes. They did not walk in the ways of thy power's commandments, or tread the path his righteousness showed them. Let the neighbors of Zion come. Remember the capture of my sons and daughters, which the everlasting brought upon them. For he brought a distant nation against them, a nation ruthless and of a strange language, which had no respect for the age and no pity for a child. They laid away their widow's beloved sons and bereaved the lonely women of her daughters. But how can I help you? For he who brought these calamities upon you will deliver you from the hand of your enemies. Go, my children, go, for I have been left desolate. I have taken off the robe of peace and put on a sackcloth for my supplication. I will cry to the everlasting all my days. Take courage, my children. Cry to thy power, and he will deliver you from the power and hand of the enemy. For I have put my hope in the everlasting to save you, and joy has come to me from the Holy One, because of the mercy that will soon come to you from everlasting Savior. For I sent you out with sorrow and weeping, but thy power will give you back to me with joy and gladness forever. For as the neighbors of Zion, I have now seen your capture, so they soon will see your salvation by thy power, which will come to you with great glory and with great splendor of the everlasting. My children, endure with patience the wrath that has come upon you from thy power. Your enemy has overtaken you, but you will soon see their destruction, and will tread upon their necks. My pampered children have traveled rough roads. They were taken away like a flock carried off by thy enemy. Take courage, my children, and cry to thy power, for you will be remembered by the one who brought this upon you. For just as you were disposed to go astray from thy power, return with tenfold zeal to seek him, for the one who brought these calamities upon you will bring you everlasting joy with your salvation. And this last scripture I'll read, and it's to Jerusalem is assured to help. Jerusalem is assured of help. Take courage, O Jerusalem, for the one who named you will comfort you. Wretched will be those who mistreated you and who rejoiced at your fall. Wretched will be the cities that your children served as slaves. Wretched will be the city that received your offspring. For just as she rejoiced at your fall and was glad for your ruin, so shall we be grieved at her own desolation. I will take away her pride and her great population, and her insolence will be turned to grief. For fire will come upon her from the everlasting for many days, and for a long time she will be inhabited by demons. Look toward the east, O Jerusalem, and see the joy that is coming to you from thy power. Look, your children are coming home. Your children are coming, whom you sent away. They are coming, gathered from the east and west, at the road of the Holy One, rejoicing in the glory of thy power. Take off the garment of your sorrow and affliction, O Jerusalem, and put on forever the beauty of the glory of thy power. Put on the robe of the righteousness that comes from thy power. Put on your head the diadem of the glory of the everlasting. For thy power will show your splendor everywhere under heaven. For thy power will give you evermore the name righteous peace, godly glory. Arise, O Jerusalem, stand upon the height, look toward the east, and see your children gathered from the west and the east, at the word of the Holy One, rejoicing that thy power has remembered them. For they went out from you on foot and led away by their enemies. But thy power will bring them back to you, carried in glory, as on a royal throne. For thy power has ordered that every high mountain and the everlasting hills be made low, and the valleys filled up to make level ground, so that Israel may walk safely in the glory of thy power. The woods and every fragrant tree have shaded Israel at God's command. For thy power will lead Israel with joy in the light of his glory, with the mercy and righteousness that come from him. So you see, children of Israel, the Most High has watched over us for a very long time, and that the things that are to come, we are not to worry about these things. The only thing we should be doing is to make sure that we uplift one another, to be with one another, to help one another when they are in need, and not to puff ourselves up with the knowledge that we have. Because these scriptures that we have and through our history, these are the things that keep us grounded. And with that, I yield.
Elder Gabar, do you have anything you'd like to add tonight?
No, brother, that was a beautiful lesson. Thawadah for the Officer Charles and Deacon and Shaw for the read. I mean, I had some scripture, but I had some scripture, but I know the people's probably ears is aching. I want them to dissect what this brother brought out tonight. Like his brother said, it's charity. But also know to whom you give to also. And the charity he's speaking of is love. That we got to show towards one another, as Yashaya showed towards us. So I just want the people to dissect what this brother said. Go back and listen to this class because he said a lot. Everything was on point. So let's go to the callers.